Welcome to highlights of Round 8, Season 5 of the HRZN Racing League from the fastest track of them all, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I'm Chris, otherwise known as Screamlight, going to be taking you through the highlights of this rapid event around the streets of Jeddah. But before we get to that, let's take a quick look at how the season has shaped up so far. Mate took another race victory in the Mexican Grand Prix, the random round that delivered so much chaos with safety cars and mixed conditions. And as you can see, we're just on the cusp of another season break. Mate taking that victory by 6.4 seconds from Bunny's Vengeance. The Scottish took third place, with Tommy Ash, Vampire, Jacob, Senna, Perpetual, Bazza, Six Pompano, Lil Reeves and Dabasaurus taking the rest of the points. Mate extends his lead at the top of the championship over Tommy Ash. The Scottish is looking to solidify third place, but Six Pompano has jumped to 11th. Mate still leads in split number 1, looking to get both overall and split 1 titles. Tommy Ash almost comfortable in second as the Scottish hunting him down, and Six Pompano is now just a point away from getting out of that relegation zone. In split 2, Senna has a commanding lead over Jimmy Alex, with Perpetual just in behind him. Dabasaurus is a little bit further back but can still be in the mix. In the constructors, Ferrari have a small lead over RB, who are just ahead of Mercedes, while Williams are getting clear in 4th. Haas slips in 9th, but HRZN Racing have points on the board. So then, the Jeddah Corniche Circuit, the fastest racetrack on the calendar, the third longest, and a street track with already a lot of real-world conflict points. Let's take a look around this wonderful, speedy circuit. It's 6.174 kilometres, 27 turns, 16 to the left, 11 to the right. Max Verstappen has won here twice and holds the current record, but in HRZN, Jacob and the Scottish took Season 2 and Season 3 honours. So this is a circuit that is just an absolute haze of corners. If you get into a rhythm, you can really maximise your lap time. We head down into Turn 1, one of the tighter action zones. This little left-right with a slight kink to the left as you exit on 3 there, heading down towards 4, 5, 6. This, again, beautiful haze of corners, very much like Miami in the way that it's laid out in this particular section of track. This double right-hand apex, though, is quite easy to get caught on the curbs and grind your way off into the runoff area and possibly even into the wall if you're not careful. Now we head down another DRS zone towards another real flashpoint, this cambered left-hand hairpin. If you get it right on the exit and keep away from the wall, you can really get a good traction drive off of that one. Heading into a really rapid right-hand left chicane here. Again, the curbs slightly raised. You can clip them and throw yourself off into a wall. Then it's another DRS zone, heading on down to another really rapid left-right chicane. You can ease off maybe just a little bit, but keep a fair amount of speed through there. And then this long right before you head out onto this long back straight. There's not really straight. This slight kink to the left with DRS can cost you if you get a little bit too aggressive on your turn. But then you head down into the final hairpin, another action point, one of the slower corners on the track. Don't clip the wall on the exit like I have there. And then you head back to complete another lap and take another 27 corners. Let's take a look at the grid order. The big news from qualifying being that I'm Your Mate on an in-lap during Q1 actually wiped the car out. So we'll be starting from 15th, our championship leader having to make moves today. Tommy Ash took pole position with Six Pompano in second. The Scottish took third with Vampire, Senna, Andy, Bunny, DRS Sign, Bazza and Dabasaurus rounding out the top 10. Season best qualifying for Dabasaurus there. Rover, Lil Reeves, Jimmy Alex, Perpetual and I'm Your Mate bringing up the rear of the field. Much like Mexico last time out, before the hell for leather 25 laps even got going, we had a little bit of action on the formation lap. We follow the RB of Jimmy Alex here, trying to get some heat into those tyres heading towards his grid spot. Gets it just a little bit too eager on the throttle. Spins the car around. Does take him a little bit of time just to get the turn-in circle to head back to the grid, and with his teammate Tommy Ash on pole, actually also not taking part in the formation lap. Promised to be an interesting lap 1 for the RBs.
Well, I don't think the AI warmed up the tyre.
1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go in Jeddah. And Tommy's bogged down off the start there, I feel. Jimmy's gone backwards. We've got moves everywhere, but Tommy in the second phase does wonderfully well to get round and remain in the lead. Andy's moved up to 6th. I'm your mate. Remains last as it stands, but then goes past Jimmy down at the back. Everybody survives turn 1 and 2 and survives it cleanly by the looks of it. Nobody seems to be getting cut away at any point. Let's jump on board with Tommy Ash. Really tries to reduce the wheel spin off the line, getting straight into 3rd gear. The Scottish has a little luck, as does Six Pompano, but manages to get away cleanly and actually start gapping the field immediately. Great start from Tommy.
Tiny amount.
Let's look at the start from 6's POV here in 2nd on the grid. Gets a really good launch and looks to be right alongside Tommy going into turn 1, but knows he's going to have to back out of it. Little tap on the wheel. No damage, no harm, no foul. A bit further back with Andy in the Haas. You can see here, building the revs nicely. Once again, not really bogging down off the line. Has Bunny's Vengeance for company pretty quickly and stays on the inside of a 3-1. Manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction and avoid any contact. Really great start from the Haas. We'll see that from Bunny's Vengeance POV as well. Really hits the revs hard and manages to still not bog down. Really great active thinking there by Bunny. He's getting up alongside Senna and Andy, but Senna brakes later to hold the line. Manages to avoid contact with the Haas on the outside and keeps his position. We'll go back to Bazza in the 2nd of the Ferraris, or the lead Ferrari on the grid. Once again, really doesn't bog down. You can see Bunny's lagging a little bit. Bunny takes it a little bit more cautiously into turn 1 as Simon is inside. Maybe clips the back of the lagging Alpine and settles back in behind the Sauber. And then with Perpetual in the McLaren, right down near the back of the field. Once again, doesn't really bog down, gets a little bit of traction issue off the line, but he's immediately past Jimmy Alex and up alongside Rover. But then there's no space for him, but as Rover and Dabasaurus get together, he manages to avoid the contact with the Aston and gets on about his way. But as you can see, the other Alpine of Rover also lagging, which will have caused a few issues. Perpetual then gets it a little bit wrong into turn number 4, maybe has a little helping hand from behind, but manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction. Six Pompano already under attack from the Scottish, who's going up the inside. There's contact. There is contact as Bunny goes past Andy. Andy's falling backwards. What's happened to Andy? Rover's gone past him now as well. Baz has also backed off. Baz has backed off. What has happened in those couple of corners? Everybody looked pretty good. I'm your mate up to 12th.
Let's go, lads.
Let's look at the 6 Scottish incident here. 6 gets a little bit out on the curb, does catch that curb just a little bit, bounces off the side of the Scottish's car and has an illegal overtake, has to back off and let him go. And we'll see Bunny and Andy, which is another incident we've got to unpack. Andy, again, getting on the curb, just grinds across it, and Bunny has a simple overtake to carry on. And we'll see that from Andy's point of view as well. You can see that he just gets a little bit wide, and it's one of those curbs that if you catch the car on it right, you can't turn. Cuts across the runoff to try and avoid other drivers, and is all of a sudden swamped by everybody. But when you see he goes past Bazza, who's backed off, we'll see why in just a second.
That start was okay.
Bazza heading into that same action point at turn number 4. You can see Andy goes off and Bazza goes a little wide to avoid, exceeds the track limits, and because of that the game gives him an illegal overtake, which seems like a little harsh of a punishment, but he has to then allow Andy back pass. Everybody else follows because of Andy's losing positions, and all of a sudden he's got Perpetual up alongside him, but he manages to hold P13. Jimmy down at the back as I'm Your Mate goes past Dabasaurus. Does he? Yes, he does. Dabasaurus gets shuffled backwards as Bazza goes past him now as well. Let's ride on board with the championship leader as he hunts down Andy, who just went backwards in a couple of corners there. Looked like the start had been so good as the Scottish has gone back past 6 up ahead. No DRS until the end of the next lap, but I'm Your Mate now. Hunting down the Haas, has to pull right out of the wheel tracks as they close in on its Rover. Into the final corner, Andy goes up the inside. He's going to try and make that move stick. He doesn't manage it. Just about gets out of the way of I'm Your Mate, who was coming around the outside there. As Dabasaurus and Jimmy are fighting out at the back, they're going to try and go 3 wide into turn 1. Andy up the inside of I'm Your Mate and Rover. Great move from the Haas, but there's contact. There's contact in turn 1. I'm Your Mate goes through. They're now 2x2 in the next corner. Maybe even 3 wide again. I'm Your Mate comes out on top. Andy is shuffled to 10th. Bazza moved past Rover there in the kerfuffle. So let's jump on board with the Haas. That battle with Rover at the tail end of the first lap. He gets up the inside of the Alpine, who manages to hold it on the outside. Really well done. And then he's also got I'm Your Mate there for company. And all of a sudden, I'm Your Mate's gone. That Ferrari is rapid in a straight line. But Andy, not backing down from the fight, goes up the inside of a 3 wide manoeuvre into turn 1. Runs a little wide, has a bit of contact with the Ferrari, and allows him to go, but has at least passed its Rover. What a move by the Haas. Watch it from on board of Bazza just behind as well, because he gets involved in the tail end of this one. You can see him going 3 wide into turn 1. Everybody seemingly just trying to scrap for space. Bazza opportunistic alongside its Rover's Alpine, and has a little think about even trying with Andy. Gets a little tap from Rover, but survives that one and moves up a place.
Brilliant, nice move. Keep going.
6 Pompano, 3-second time penalty for multiple track limits warnings on lap number 2. There's only 25 laps here just because of how rapid this circuit is as Rover moves backwards. He's going to have Jimmy for company shortly. It'll look to go up the inside at the hairpin. But Rover gets the cut back on him. Beautifully done by the Alpine driver, as we manage to rotate the camera the right way for a change. Jimmy continues following Rover now. Here we are on board with Jimmy. He's at the back of the field in the RB. Gets a little bit on the curbs and really loses the rear. But as you can see, Dabasaurus does the same on the exit of that corner and nearly puts it straight into the wall. And then Jimmy has the opportunity to go up the inside of Rover. Brakes just a little bit too late and overshoots, possibly still keeping an eye out for the Aston Martin behind. And Rover cuts back on him. It's a really solid move by Bazza and Andy Rudin there. Not I'm Your Mate, Bazza and Andy scrapping out with the DRS. Bazza, a big kick of oversteer, drifts it through the chicane. Andy had started well and then just had a bit of a mare in one corner. It'll be interesting to see what happened, as he's got DRS now, heading down into the final corner. Jimmy goes past Rover with the same further back, tries to go in the outside line, doesn't make it, as Tommy, 6 Scottish, all net fastest lap within milliseconds of each other. I'm Your Mate moves past Lil Reeves into P8. Car doesn't look like it's carrying any damage after that contact with the Haas. Andy moves past Bazza a bit further back as well. So now I'm Your Mate is going to go after Syme up ahead as Rover and Jimmy continue their little fight. Back with the RB Alpine battle again. These guys hammer and tongs at it during lap 2. You can see that Jimmy is being forced to the outside by Rover, who I believe also had DRS there from Perpetual. He's got past him and keeps it nice and tight in the hairpin. But as we exit, both of them now are on a drag down into turn 1. Jimmy thinks he may have it covered. He's keeping the car fairly central, but Rover is looking about all over the place. Backs it off for now, but Jimmy overcommits into turn 1 a little bit, compromises his line into 2, getting on the throttle, loses the rear end, and the Alpine goes back past.
14th.
Everybody else, all quite close to each other. 6th, though, just behind Scottish, who's closing on Tommy Ash. He's going to have the DRS in just a moment. 6, getting into the mirrors of the Williams, just to let him know he's still there. The only person so far with time penalties, as Jimmy and Rover continue battling down in 13th. Back with Jimmy and Rover once again. You can see now Jimmy is following the Alpine once again through this section, both taking differing lines, but Rover gets just a little bit on the outside curb there and then doesn't quite get the turn in on the next one. Easy pass for Jimmy.
No, not yet.
Tommy defends to the outside, really well driven there. 6 now right up behind Scottish as Bazza goes past Lil Reeves down in 9th place. The Scottish though alongside the RB. Tommy's going to remain on the inside. Whether he's going to be able to hold it, he's not. Scottish takes the lead. And the Vampire is right on this battle as well, so it's a 4-way scrap for the lead. Senna and Bunny's Vengeance just a little bit further back, but close enough to still be involved, I feel. So it could be a 6-way scrap for the lead of this race. We've got a yellow in sector 1 and Syme's out. Syme is out. I don't know what's happened, and we've got a safety car. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, so watch out for the guys 10th to 14th, all of whom have pitted and changed tyres. Tommy, though, will lead them round the final corner. Safety car already in the pits. Does Tommy go early? Doesn't look like it. I think he's gunned it now, though. The top 2 going together. Vampire a little bit caught cold. And we're racing again in Saudi Arabia. Any moves being made into turn 1. Vampire defending from Senna a bit further back. Manages it. We've got moves at the back. Dabasaurus moving past Perpetual. So Dabasaurus went onto the mediums as... that was Jimmy Alex. Jimmy Alex is wide. He's all over the place. And he's down to the back. I wonder what's happened there, whether he's just caught a curb. Let's have a look at some of these safety car restarts. But with Tommy, who's leading the pack at this point, really, really taking his time to put the throttle down. Goes as he exits the hairpin, gets a little wiggle of oversteer, so 6 can come along with him. But he seems to have timed that pretty well to get away from the pack and is fairly safe down into turn number 1.
Who was that?
We'll watch it from just behind of Tommy in 6's point of view. Again, gets a little wiggle coming off of the hairpin. Thinks he might have a drive on the RB here, but you can see that he's getting away, dumping the ERS to pull away from the McLaren. And down into turn number 1. Looks fairly safe and solid in 2nd for 6. At the back in the pack now with Bunny's Vengeance and the Alpine. He's been cut away from the pack ahead just a little bit as Senna and Vampire go side by side into turn number 1. Bunny, however, bit of space behind, bit of space in front, but as you can see, gets it just a little bit too late on the brakes. Nearly goes into the back of the Sauber, but survives to fight another day. Here we are with Jimmy up behind Andy, who's really not timed his restart particularly well. But Jimmy then gets caught out by that as well, as the Scottish is in behind him post pit stop. The Scottish has a think about maybe looking for turn 1 and then dives for it up the inside. There's not a huge amount Jimmy can do. And I think he may have been caught by the Williams, loses the rear end and drops back, then nearly loses it again in amongst the pack. Falls back to the back of the field. Here we are with Perpetual. He's just a couple of cars behind that incident, so we might get to see it from a distance. Perpetual, though, a little bit late on the getaway as well. Again, has maybe just a little wiggle, still trying to get heat into those tyres. And he's got Dabasaurus behind him for company. The Aston Martin is up alongside going into turn 1. Perpetual knows there's not a huge amount you can do. Allows Dabasaurus to brake later. You can see the aftermath of the Scottish Jimmy incident, and then you can see Jimmy getting a wiggle. Perpetual, though, still manages to maintain position through all that. As Jimmy goes past Rover down at the back. I'm Your Mate now chasing Bunny's Vengeance. Senna and Vampire also in very close proximity. The top two have broken away from this little train.
Green flag.
Here we are back with Jimmy Alex once again following Rover's Alpine.
Yeah,
And much like the earlier incident, Rover gets on the curb on the outside, has to back out of it and cut across the runoff. An easy pass for Jimmy. I'm Your Mate at the back of it, right in behind the Alpine. There has been some comeback from starting last. He's right up alongside us. Rover gets a 3-second time penalty. Bunny's Vengeance is gone before we even change camera. Dabasaurus moves past Perpetual into 11th. Dabasaurus making moves back there. As DRS is now enabled on this lap 6 with time penalties and with the need to pit, as we watch Senna and Vampire go side by side into turn 1. Senna is through. And Vampire now falling backwards as Dabasaurus moves past Lil Reeves. I'm Your Mate round the outside into turn 4. Sweeps through and he's chasing Senna now. So stay on board with the Ferrari for now. They're 2.5 seconds off the lead pair. Bazza now with a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings. Easy to do here in Jeddah. Senna just holding the car in exactly the racing line. Doesn't bother moving for defence. But runs wide out of that hairpin. I'm Your Mate just calmly on the inside. Looks like Jensen Button driving. Really calm, steady driver here. Unlike a few of the other rounds where he's been a little bit wild. But should easily make this pass with the DRS. Has to zip to the outside of the Sauber. And he's through. Easily done with DRS as the Scottish moves past Andy further back. As we watch this little string of cars, 3rd down to 7th, Ferrari at each end. I'm Your Mate in 3rd. He's dumped all of his battery there, so Senna is going to go up the inside as Bunny's Vengeance goes at the inside of Vampire behind. Both battles go through with no contact. Bunny's Vengeance, I think, has come out on top that one. Yes, he has. As Dabasaurus and Lil Reeves are making moves. Lil Reeves past Dabasaurus here. Here we are with Bunny's Vengeance. He's got Vampire and Senna immediately in front of him, and Bazza not far behind. I'm Your Mate's also there. Bunny goes up the inside of Vampire. Senna does the same to I'm Your Mate. Vampire, though, keeps that Mercedes on the inside, unlike the Ferrari ahead. But Bunny gets the power down on the exit of turn 2 and is through and safe from attack until he runs just a little bit wide, allowing Vampire to keep on his tail. As I'm Your Mate chases Senna down into the final hairpin, but nothing doing there. Bunny having to defend from Vampire, who's got Bazza in close proximity. The Scottish is caught right up to the back of them as well. As 6 goes past Tommy. 6 has gone past Tommy, and I'm Your Mate has gone past Senna. Bazza goes past Vampire. Vampire's gone into the pit, so Bazza, Scottish, and Andy have all gone past. Lil Reeves, Dabasaurus, Perpetual as well.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use hot lap DRS.
Here we are with Jimmy Alex coming into the final hairpin here. He's got a little bit of a gap on Rover, but then gets too early on the power, spins the rears up, hits the wall, gets himself a little bit of front wing damage and has to 3-point turn it to get out of there. You'll need to head into the pits to get that one repaired pretty prompt.
ERS is low. ERS.
As the Scottish goes past Bazza further back, there's a yellow flag. Bazza is going backwards. He's in the wall. He's in the wall. Bazza has to reverse. He's got no front wing. Oh no, it's been another day with damage for the Ferrari. Here we are with Bazza. We catch that instant really late on, but he catches the curb on the exit, spins the car, and he loses his front wing. He's now just waiting for everybody to go past while he's still ghosting. He doesn't want to get in anybody's way. Reverses it right back over the other runoff area and has to crawl back to the pit. As Tommy and Six both pull in. I'm Your Mate's going to follow suit. Senna also going to go in. The Scottish hasn't pit, or has already pit. Bunny hasn't. But the Scottish is going to try and go up the inside, and the Scottish now back in the lead of this Grand Prix. Andy moves up to third. He doesn't take the pit stop. Six and Tommy come out basically nose to tail. As Dabasaurus leads this little queue. We'll go with Perpetual here because I think he's looking at making a move, but he backs off, lets Six through, and he's going to stay on the inside of Tommy, who goes round the outside at the final corner. Brave move for somebody fighting for the championship. Perpetual's going to try and come back at him into turn one now. As we see Six go up the inside of Lil Reeves, and there's contact there as well. Reeves gets caught by Six. Here we are with Tommy, who's just taken a pit stop. He's chasing down Six and Perpetual up ahead. You can see that the McLarens play a little bit of a team game as Perpetual backs right out of it to allow Six past. Gets up to speed quick enough to make life a bit more difficult for Tommy on the outside of the final hairpin. But Tommy does manage to make it through, and he starts chasing back Six again. Here we are on board with Perpetual, so you can see it from his point of view. You've got Lil Reeves up ahead, another car that seems to be lagging. It's a bit of a tough one for lag this week. As you can see, he'll back right off knowing that Six Pompano's there, rather than going for the move on Lil Reeves. And then Tommy is round the outside before he can get completely up to speed. Does try to hold him to the wall, but the RB through before he can make a move. Is Six going to just let him go through, or is he going to be thinking Tommy's close behind? As we ride on board with the RB, following the Williams, he's been balked by traffic a little bit here as Six Pompano gets away, chases Dabasaurus up ahead. And Six is going past Dabasaurus. We'll watch the rear cam as Tommy tries to go in the outside at the second, or the first of the two hairpins. He's going to squeeze up the inside here. It'll be on the inside for the chicane. Lil Reeves is off. I don't know whether there was contact there or not, or whether it was just 2 into 1 in that corner didn't go, but Tommy was up the inside. Here we are with Six Pompano chasing down Dabasaurus in the Aston Martin. You can see he's got wide through the middle of that double right-hander and gets wide on exit as well. Really makes the pass a fairly straightforward one for Six Pompano into the hairpin. But Six, as you can see, looks to be fairly comfortable at this point. Gets on the throttle a little too early and has a little wiggle, but he's safe for now. Further back with Tommy Ash, you can see Six has made the move on Dabasaurus, and Six is getting away at this point. Tommy, though, squeezes right up the inside of Lil Reeves, who's lagging just a touch, and there's a bit of contact, probably down to lag more than anything else. No appeals on that one. Tommy makes the move stick. As we'll watch Perpetual now. He's got I'm Your Mate for company. He's back with Lil Reeves. Oh, I'm Your Mate into the back of Perpetual. As I'm Your Mate got damage, he's got a little bit of front wing damage. Got his braking point all wrong. Nudged Perpetual off, as gained the position, but now has front wing damage as well as Bunny's Vengeance is in. Tommy, round Dabasaurus at the final corner. Is Dabasaurus going to come in? No, he's not. He's going to stay out. Almost 3 wide into turn 1 here, though. Six holds the line. Dabasaurus knows it's not his fight, but keeps his car up the inside. As Bunny's Vengeance is in, I'm Your Mate's in again. Back with Tommy Ash in the RB, chasing down Dabasaurus here. Six is beginning to move away, but there's a bit of a DRS train forming. Dabasaurus tries to remain on the inside to make life difficult for Tommy, much like Perpetual did earlier. Tommy, wise to it, keeps his steering angle quite open, manages to sweep round the outside of the Aston, but Dabasaurus is going to fight it back with DRS down turn number 1. They're closing on the McLaren ahead. Tommy a little bit blocked by Six, so has to brake a little earlier, keep it to the outside, but he's made the move through turn 2. Senna drifting round turn 1, just caught that at the right time. Vampire Moves past I'm Your Mate, who's down to 11th, and Dabasaurus is out. We've lost DJ Dabasaurus, who's had a big one. Oh, what a shame. Dabasaurus was running well, and we've got another safety car outside of the points as it stands, but I feel like we're going to get possibly more safety cars in this one. As the safety car does come in, we'll follow Tommy off the start. I'll be hopefully picking up a couple of those incidents in the highlights package, the Simon Dabasaurus ones. I know neither of them stream, but we might be able to pick them up on somebody else's POV. As Tommy stays to the inside of the final corner, he'll gun it now. Everybody goes with him this time now. There's a little bit of a gap for Vampire, who once again I think has caught napping. But Tommy leads them across the line into turn 1. Let's see if there are any moves being made. Perpetual going up the inside of Lil Reeves. Tommy holds the lead. Let's go further back. Senna now, though, gets an opportunity to go round Perpetual. I think he might have got caught out in turn 1 as I'm Your Mate goes past Jimmy. Let's look at this safety car restart from the point of view of both McLarens. First 6 Pompano. Gets a little bit held up by Andy, who got on the power just a touch later, but he's right in the slipstream of the Haas down into turn number 1. Fakes to maybe make a move, but Andy, wise to it, keeps the door very well shut. Nice, easy getaway for the Haas. 6 just has to settle in behind.
Keep us updated on I'm Your
Oh,
Mate.
no.
And we'll look at it from Perpetual a little bit further back. Tries to take a bit more of a wide entry into the hairpin to get a slingshot. Lil Reeves, you can see, still lagging to the right-hand side in that Williams. It's making this move just a little bit more tricky for Perpetual, but he keeps it on the inside. He's got Senna just in behind him in the Sauber as well. Lil Reeves still lagging. Perpetual gets a little bit of oversteer, and Senna finds a little spot to try and squeeze by, and he's through on the exit of turn 3. Shame for Perpetual. Safety car has gone. We haven't got another safety car just yet. In fact, let's ride on board with Senna, see if we can see any of this lag as Bunny goes past Perpetual further back. I'm Your Mate's already past Rover, and the Scottish moves into the lead. Or does he? The Scottish and Tommy Ash going side by side there. And the Scottish comes out on top.
Tyre condition still looking good.
Here we are with the Alpine of Bunny's Vengeance just behind the Perpetual Senna at turn 1 from that restart. You can see that they very nearly come together, but Senna has made it through. Bunny sees this as an opportunity, backs off a little just to let Perpetual have the space into the next corner, but then will immediately get on the attack into the next couple.
If you think you can get past,
Sees a spot, thinks about making the move. Perpetual runs wide, and Bunny is through.
Hey,
And a bit further up, this time with Tommy and the Scottish. Tommy sees the Williams behind. He had to back out of it to avoid running too wide through that double right-hander. The Scottish is round the outside into the hairpin, but does outbrake himself, runs very deep. Tommy has an opportunity to come back in it, but he cannot get on the power early enough, and the Williams is through. Tommy, however, will stick with him. Have a little think about it into the chicane.
No bother, no bother.
As I'm Your Mate now tries to go past Vampire for P9. Is he going to do it? He's at the inside into the chicane, and he's through. Already making moves as Andy gets shuffled back by 6. The Haas driver, though, is going to be fighting this one. Senna goes past Lil Reeves. Vampire's back ahead of I'm Your Mate. Safety car restart proving entertaining as the top 4 have kind of broken away from the field a bit here. If Andy can keep up with the top 3, there could be a podium on the cards here. Bunny goes past Lil Reeves now, who you can see lagging just there. You can see it pretty clearly from the offboard. So it's the top 4, then this little clutch of 3, 5th, 6th and 7th as DRS is re-enabled, and then Perpetual leads another little train as Bunny goes round the outside of Senna into turn 1. Senna's going to keep it there, and he sweeps around the outside in turn 2, but he's wide. Keeps the position though. Manages to get back in front of the Alpine. Here we are with Bazza following Jimmy Alex, basically pushing him out of the final corner. No DRS at this stage, so dumps his battery to try and get past the RB. who's sticking with him at this point as they head down into turn number 1. Jimmy stays on the outside, but really has to compromise his line into 2. Bazza sweeps round and he's through. Watch that from Jimmy's point of view as well. You can see the Ferrari is more than up alongside. He's actually in front as we get into the braking zone. Jimmy does try to fight it back, but has to just go too deep on the brakes. He's wide, Bowser is through, and then he nearly loses it on exit.
The safety car is still out. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm 0% ERS. What am I at?
Here we are with Bunny's Vengeance. He's with Senna in the Sauber here into turn number 1. Gives Senna the space, tries to fight it around turn 2. Senna's still running wide though, as he tries to make that move stick. And he's up the inside at 3. Really sensible driving by both. Lil Reeves at the back of this queue, just sort of watching on. And he's starting to lose the top 3 a little bit. In fact, the Scottish is starting to pull away from Tommy. Safety cars have really worked in his favour today as Bazza moves past Rover at the back. The Ferrari's now 10th and 11th, but both with time penalties. I'm Your Mate yet to really make moves as Vampire goes up the inside of Perpetual. Here we are with Bazza in the Ferrari hunting down its Rover. You can see up ahead that the Alpine's still lagging quite heavily. Bazza though keeping it nice and clean, keeping the car pointing in the right direction, and really neat and tidy through here as Rover gets out on the curb on the outside, flings him towards the wall on the inside. As he tries to evade, Bazza makes the move and he's through. Moves into P8. Patchell trying to stay with him now, as I'm Your Mate sits in behind, as 6 has gone past Tommy for second. 6 moves past Tommy. Tommy going backwards on this set of tyres, not really having the time of it. But he just needs to stay within 6 seconds of 6 Pompano, as does Andy, for a podium here, as will go overhead as Tommy goes round the outside into the hairpin. I'm Your Mate now past Perpetual, further back as well, as Vampire goes past Lil Reeves. Or does he? Very wide, clips the wall. Possibly trying to avoid the slightly laggy Williams as 6 goes past Tommy once again. Bunny goes past Senna further forward. Senna now has a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings as I'm Your Mate slips through on Lil Reeves as well.
Yeah, to back out that.
Not with that.
With 6 Pompano, the battle up near the front. He's chasing down Tommy Ash in the RB. Gets the DRS in this particular DRS zone. And Tommy off to one side, looks like he's kind of backed it off a touch. Knows he can actually throw it back on the next DRS zone. Sensible driving. He says he doesn't have the pace at this point, but you'll see the arrows on that McLaren. They're going to start getting bigger and start turning red as Tommy goes around the outside with DRS before they get to the braking point of the hairpin. 6 is going to look to try and fight it back down the start-finish straight, which is exactly what he does. Gets immediately on the DRS. Tommy stays to the inside to try and defend the line as the Scottish is getting away. But again, early braking from Tommy, playing the sensible game of trying to stay behind the car, get the DRS to jump back through, almost like IndyCar drafter. Good thinking by both there though. And we'll see that from Tommy's point of view. Should be able to see that he backed off maybe just a little bit as he sees that the McLaren is going past. He's not exactly pushing here. As I said, very much IndyCar drafting, as if they're trying to just use each other's toe to pull back up to the back of the Williams up ahead.
I'll try and do it.
You'll get the DRS now into the hairpin, and he's immediately on the back of the McLaren. Dumps a little bit of battery as well, just to make sure he goes round before the braking zone. And you'll see that 6 Pompano stays immediately in his wheel tracks, keeps with the RB, and will make the move back through into turn 1. Tommy stays to the inside, keeps the car in the middle of the track. Doesn't exactly fight hard on the brakes though, as 6 goes back through. Sensible driving in terms of trying to keep each other close to the Scottish using their DRS and their draft. But does lose the position, at least for now. I'm Your Mate now, going past Vampire on his comeback drive. He has time penalties as well though, so it's going to be interesting to see how that affects him at the tail end of the race. As Lil Reeves and Bazza still going side by side there for P9. Perpetual sat in amongst it as well as Bazza goes around the outside. There was a little bit of contact, although that could still be lag. Williams is lagging just a little bit. Here we are with Bazza down in 9th place. He's got Lil Reeves coming out behind him. You can see that he's lagging about in the mirrors. Lil Reeves goes up the inside but outbrakes himself. Compromises his turn 2 and Bazza can sweep back up the inside. But that Williams is keeping the position as best as he can, but into turn 4, Bazza's made the move stick. Just slipping out of DRS range, but not losing time to the Alpine behind. Vital, though, that he stays within 6 seconds of Six Pompano, who's fallen to 2.5 seconds, best part of, off the back of the Scottish. He's running away at the front as Tommy is going to go around the outside into the final hairpin again. Vampire and I'm Your Mate switching places. Senna and Bunny's Vengeance doing the same. I'm Your Mate not really able to make inroads here. It's not going to cost him the championship lead, I don't think, as Six and Tommy switch places again, and that's allowing Andy to close up. We've got Bunny and Senna switching back round again. I'm Your Mate doesn't go for the move this time. Stays behind Vampire. But this is going to have ramifications for the title. Won't change the current positions, I don't think, but Tommy and the Scottish now are going to be really taking points out of I'm Your Mate, who's really struggling to move forward. In the latter half of this race, we're only 5 laps from the end. Andy now out of DRS, but still 2 and a bit seconds clear as Bazza's retired. I think Bazza's put it into the wall. With Bazza here, still got Lil Reeves quite close for company, but there aren't many laps left in this race. The Ferrari still keeping it fairly neat through here, but as you can see into the double right-hander, he clips that inside curb, which imbalances the car a touch, clips the inside curb on exit, loses the rear, and is straight into the wall. It's another DNF for Bazza. So then, as suspected, safety car will come in at the end of this lap. It's going to be the Scottish that leads them away this time. Andy sat there in 3rd, could be on for a P2 or maybe more if there's shenanigans up ahead. The Scottish taking a wide line through the final corner. Hasn't gunned it yet, they're almost side by side. Everybody needing to check up a little bit. And the Scottish goes now. Perpetual has gained a place, but we'll have to give that back. And away we go into turn number 1. Just the 3 laps, including this one. Cars too wide in the background. We're going to see a lot of moves here. Or are we? Lil Reeves goes past I'm Your Mate. I'm Your Mate slips down to 8th. And Tommy's gone past Lil Reeves and I'm Your Mate. He's up to 7th. What a start that is for Tommy further back. So for the 3rd time in this race, let's take a look at some safety car restarts. We're on board with Six Pompano in 2nd. The Scottish taking a really wide line through the final hairpin as if he's going to try and slingshot out of it. Six thinks he's going to, but the Scottish holds off before nailing the throttle now. Six caught a little bit cold by that, and he's got Andy in behind him for company in the Haas. Scottish has bolted at this point into turn number 1. Andy, however, can't make a move behind, so Six can at least keep 2nd for now.
No, fuck me.
We'll look at that from Bunny's Vengeance perspective here. You can see the top 2 going side by side and Andy almost through the middle of a pair of them. But Bunny very quick to react as soon as the couple in front move off, and he's already trying to chase down the Haas pretty quickly. He's got Senna behind him, he knows he's there and he's waiting for the dive. It doesn't happen. Nearly pushes Andy through turn 1, but survives and carries on about as even. Here we are with Andy. You can see the Scottish has bolted. Andy, really quick reactions there to remain right up next to Six, who's only just getting up to speed. The Haas thinks about a move into turn 1, remains in a position where he can try it, decides against it, gets on the brakes really nicely, keeps Bunny behind him, and gets a really solid exit out of turn 2. Great restart from the Haas. Let's go a bit further back to Perpetual's restart on this safety car. Points on the board for everybody if they finish, and they can keep it clean here. He's waiting for the go of everybody up ahead. Maybe goes just a fraction too early there, and he's passed Jimmy before he needs to be. Keeps the pace up, but allows the RB to move back past to avoid the illegal overtake. And then he's going to have to try and settle in behind him, see if he can make a move further on. You can see that there's a little bit of action up ahead, a few cars getting into each other, again possibly due to some lag. Perpetual though holds his little spot on the road and goes after the guys in front, as you see Lil Reeves clip the wall through lag, bounce off into the weeds. Another position for Perpetual. Let's jump on board with Tommy Ash, who's taken a late pit stop during the safety car to try and carve his way back through. You're waiting for everybody to go here. I'm your mate and Vampire up alongside each other. But eventually they can get on the throttle, and Lil Reeves still lagging a little bit, which is causing a few issues for Tommy as to whether he's going to make a move or not. But as you can see, I'm your mate and Vampire have gotten into each other. The Williams then lagging through, and Tommy catches both of them unawares and gets up the inside. Really heads up driving by the RB.
Oh, we've lost a spot from that.
And we're with the second RB of Jimmy Alex, who's in behind his teammate at this point. As you can see, everybody just waiting for the Scottish to go. He's really holding them back. But as you can see, it's a lot of on and off throttle. It's causing everybody just a little bit of concern. Nobody in the mid-pack seems to know when to go. And you'll see Perpetual goes past there as they await the go. Perpetual thinks he's timed it right, but has to back out with it, of course, otherwise he gets the illegal overtake. Jimmy now heading down into turn number 1. He's cut adrift from his teammate, but you'll see everybody else getting into each other up ahead. Jimmy thinks he can get involved in this fight, but stays back, lets them deal with it. And then you'll see, there goes Lil Reeves, lagging in and out. He's off the road. Andy now holding up a bit of a queue. He's fallen off 6 in the Scottish, but everybody around him's got time penalties with the exception of Vampire, so he just really needs to hold it out. But Bunny's going to try and go around the outside into the final corner. No DRS in this lap. Tommy goes past Vampire further back. He's going to try and do the same. But Vampire holds it on the inside. Tommy, though, fast enough to go past. Fresh tyres. He's on his way. DRS is now enabled. Andy just needs to hold out here as Senna tries to go around the outside into turn 1. He'll be the inside for 2. Tommy's now right with them as well. Andy, though, goes back up the inside and holds the line. And now Tommy will try and go around the outside of Senna. There's a bit of contact, but there was enough space to just get through. Andy back into 4th. Let's watch that action between Andy, Bunny and Senna from on board the Haas first off. You can see he's getting a really clean run down this back straight. No DRS as we've only just got to near the end of the first lap after the safety car. You can see that Bunny gets a better run though and is past the Haas before he knows it. And he knows there's time penalties at play here though, so he just has to drive sensibly. Both Senna, Bunny and even 6 a bit further up with time penalties. So there's still a better position to be had here.
That's fine.
Gets right in the slipstream of the Alpine, and he's got Senna for company doing exactly the same behind. As Senna goes for the outside line into turn number 1, and he keeps it steady, keeps the room on turn 2 as well, just to make sure that there's no contact. You can hear that he's more concerned about losing Bunny, especially with Tommy in behind, but he goes for the move into the next corner, keeps the position.
I told you I was going for it.
And does very well to keep that position. We'll see that from Tommy's perspective a little bit further back. You can see that he's chasing Vampire down first off, and again uses just a little bit of slipstream. He's round the outside here. This is a move he's made a couple of times during the race. Gets the traction off the corner, dumps a little bit of battery, and he's past Vampire quite easily around the final corner. And then you'll see the battle up ahead. Senna pulls out of the slipstream of the Haas and looks around the outside. No contact between the two of them. Really impressive racecraft by them both. Tommy now right up behind, thinks he can get involved in this as well. But you'll see that Andy is not backing out the move. Senna has to back off, gets pushed a little by Tommy, who then goes round the outside of the Sauber. All very opportunistic, but all's fair in love and war. Six Pompano gets another 3 seconds. He's going to be falling way down the order. Bunny's Vengeance in third, a little bit clear, but he has time penalties as well. Tommy and Andy could be on for podium here as I'm Your Mate moves into 7th. Past Vampire, we got a yellow in sector 2. I think Vampire's made a mistake. We're on the penultimate lap of this one. Tommy now chasing Andy. This could be positions 2 and 3, depending on how this works out, as Rover falls to the back. There's a yellow in sector 2. I think they've had issues. Tommy moves into 4th, which could be a net 2nd place with time penalties. Andy just needs to stay there with him now. Back with Tommy Ash chasing Andy down. I think both of them at this point are probably aware that the podium is on for both of them. Andy really trying to squeeze the RB to make sure he doesn't go past. We've got yellow flags a bit further back, but doesn't affect these two. No, Tommy is through and up into 4th. As I'm Your Mate and Senna go side by side into the final corner. I'm Your Mate takes that position, moves into 6th. With time penalties, it's not going to matter too much in terms of passing the cars in front. Tommy has a little look at the inside of Bunny. Andy sits in between them all. Could be on for a P3 here. Just needs to hold out, because the time penalties for everybody around him. Rover now gets another 3 seconds. Just hold that position. Tommy now chasing down Bunny. The Scottish, 0.5 of a second clear. 6 could go for a move, but he's got 9 seconds, I think, of time penalties. That could actually drop him all the way to the back of this field. Tommy looks for it, goes late, nearly goes into the back of the Alpine. Andy just holding out the championship leader. We've got another yellow in sector 2 as 6 is round. 6 is round and in the middle of the track and falling right to the back. Here we are with Six Pompano. He's had a few squirrely moments as he's trying to chase down the Scottish here through the hairpin. It's the final lap. Clips the outside wall, spins the car. Fortunately, he's ghosting else. It'd be a much bigger incident. And he's just waiting to be able to flick spin the car. He will into the path of a Williams, but it doesn't matter too much. But he has fallen basically to the back. And Jimmy's round as well. What has happened in this final couple of corners? Six Pompano and Jimmy Alex both facing the wrong way.
For position, he's not settling for 6th.
Here we are with Jimmy Alex, same corner as Six Pompano. You can see the yellow flags are out for the McLaren. Jimmy gets round the corner, gets on the throttle too early, and is into the wall, loses a little bit of his front wing, and falls to the back of the field. Bad luck for Jimmy. It's been one of those races. So the Scottish is going to go on to win. We've got I'm Your Mate and Senna fighting into the chicane. They're somehow giving just enough room. Andy is on for a P3 at this point. The Scottish is going to come round the final corner as Tommy overtakes Bunny's Vengeance to get P2 on the road. The Scottish rounds the final corner and will take the victory in Saudi Arabia. Vampires move past Perpetual further back. Tommy will take 2nd place. No, 3rd on the road, but Tommy moves into 2nd with Bunny's time penalties. Andy is 3rd. I'm Your Mate recovers to 5th with Bunny in 4th. Senna's 6th. Vampire is 7th. Perpetual is 8th. Lil Reeves comes home in 9th as 6 Pompano spins it across the line. Rover comes home 10th. And it's 6, I think, will finish 12th. A couple of drag races to the line here at the end of the race. Tommy has DRS on Bunny's Vengeance down the final section of the lap. Gets past well before the braking zone of the hairpin, but Bunny, very shrewd driving here. Keeps it right in with the RB, gets DRS, and it's a long enough run down to the line that he can actually pull alongside the RB. We'll see that from Bunny's perspective here as well. Time penalties obviously coming into effect for Bunny, but he knows that Tommy's gone. Manages to just keep close enough to him. He's got a fair amount of battery to use here as well. Really tight, smooth line through the final corner. Dumps the battery, gets the DRS, and he's right up alongside, crosses the line. And another drag to the line, this time with Perpetual, who's got Vampire in close proximity. You can see the McLaren keeping an eye on where that Mercedes is, but once again around the outside into the final corner. Vampire, though, not quite close enough to make the move immediately. There's a little bit of contact, which gives Vampire the position, but Perpetual will try and fight it back. Gets to the DRS, not quite close enough though. A fast and frenetic race at Saudi Arabia, much like the track itself. Let's take a look at the classified results. The Scottish takes a victory by 3.5 seconds from Tommy Ash. Andy gets a season best third place and driver of the day for both qualifying and a great drive under pressure near the end. All 12 finishers get points. Baza, Davasaurus and Syme did not manage to make the end. I'm your mate now 33 points clear at the top of the overall standings from Tommy Ash as the Scottish breaches the 100-point barrier. Andy moves up to 9th with his result today. Split 1, I'm your mate still has a fairly commanding lead over Tommy Ash, though the Scottish is now just 20 points behind in third. Vampire a further 40 back. Six Pompano remains in the relegation zone but is now just 1 point behind Syme. In split 2, Senna has a really commanding lead over now Perpetual, who's moved into second place. Jimmy Alex down to third. Davasaurus can still get himself in amongst that fight. And in the Constructors, Ferrari now lead by 9 over RB. Mercedes remain third with Williams now 100 points plus in fourth. Haas getting closer to Alpine in 8th and 9th. That was Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch these highlights. Season break followed by a wildcard and sprint at Austria. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you real soon. Take care of yourselves.